Hello, I am Haitham Ramadan.
And I am Miguel Garcia. As for this vlog, we are going to be tackling a novel titled The Forest of Hands and Teeth, along with the importance of zombie mythology in these modern times.
Well, I have a good bond with my mother, I love my family, and we're happy. It's very rare for us to have problems.
My bond with my mother is so strong that nothing will be able to break it, and nothing will be able to separate me and my mother. The same goes for my father and my little brother.
But for me, no one has died in my family yet, which I'm thankful for. But for some other people, it's really hard to cope with it. And for others, it's not as hard. It all depends on the person and the people supporting you and the people who are by your side to confront you.
Two members in my family had sadly passed away. My grandmother had passed away in the late months of the year 2020, whilst her sister had passed away in the late months of the year 2018. Although it was hard to cope up with these type of events, thanks to the therapeutic process of time, my family and I have coped up.
To me, it looks like zombies have no free will in the movies. They only act on their instincts. However, we humans have a free will and don't always act on instinct. However, we do sometimes act on instinct, like fear, hunger, and other stuff. However, some people have their free will suppressed by other people, by people with power, by people with money. And it's the same thing with zombies. They have no free will. So it's kind of like symbolism.
These type of products from the entertainment industry is related to human society or in real life is well because it is derived from real life. Producers just conceal the things happening in real life through the use of metaphor in which they turn it into a movie, a story, or a show. In life, we will always have a choice, whether it is to do this or that. It is completely up to us. Similar to that of a zombie movie, the main characters have the choice to either get eaten or to survive. And they will always be in danger because zombies are always going to hunt for them. So first off, who is Carrie Ryan, the author of The Forest of Hands and Teeth? Carrie Ryan is the New York Times best-selling author of multiple books for both middle grade and young adult readers. Her works includes The Daughter of Deep Silence, The Forest of Hands and Teeth trilogy, Infinity Ring series, and The Map to Everywhere. Carrie Ryan was born and raised in Greenville, South Carolina. Carrie is a graduate of Williams College and Duke University School of Law. She was a former litigator, but now she writes full-time. Carrie lives with her writer/lawyer of a husband, 2 fat cats, and 1 large rescue mutt in Charlotte, North Carolina.
The Forest of Hands and Teeth is a novel created by Carrie Ryan, which involves the efforts of a teenager girl called Mary and her companions in an attempt to escape the dead. Mary was told from a young age about the ocean and stories about it from her mother, that the ocean is a place where there was nothing but water as far as she could see, and that it's always moving, rushing towards her, meaning that the waves are rushing towards her. Her village was going through a drought, and the little girl Mary was confused as to why they have a drought when there is an ocean. The mother explained that the ocean is not a drinkable source of water, that it was filled with salt. Mary thought her mother was lying by not believing that there is so much salt and that God made an undrinkable water source. Mary sometimes stands at the edge of the forest and imagines a world with nothing but water. Her father has left the village and is supposed to come back, but he still has yet to come. Mary gives up on waiting for her father. She sometimes becomes afraid to look past the fence and see her father walking among the dead. But Mary's mother never gave up and still waits for him to return.
Once upon a time, a fenced-in village existed in the middle of a forest, infested by zombies. We are then introduced to Mary, the main character. Mary, who's minding her own business, washing her clothes in the stream and such, when her childhood pal Harry pays her a visit at the stream. Mary and Harry had some interesting conversations after exchanging hellos and such. Out of nowhere, however, Harry asks her the question, "Will you marry me?" Before Mary can answer, the village sirens starts AWOL, which is the code for zombies invading or entering the vicinity of their village. Mary, now being alarmed, makes a break for it, heading towards the village. As she is running towards the village, her mother enters her thoughts. Mary's mother, who had a husband, was human back then, until one day he had left to go to the forest. Sadly, however, he never came back. Mary then reminisces to her past experiences of her burying the pain of losing her father as deeply as possible, to the extent that she'd give up on him, thinking that he will come back. Mary's mother, on the other hand, had never given up on her husband. At night, she would pray to God that her husband had hopefully found a village within a forest full of zombies. Mary knows that her mother will turn herself into a zombie by going near the fence and infecting herself just to be with her long-lost husband who had been gone for months. After Mary's mother joins the ranks of the zombies, Mary's brother Jed, who is a guardian, had kicked her out of their house, as he is not keen on having to chop off his mother's head. Upon the arrival of Mary to the village, she then gets informed that her mother had now become a zombie. Mary, who is now shaking due to the information that she had received, has now decided to join the sisterhood, led by the power-hungry sister Tabitha. Sister Tabitha can see that Mary isn't that delighted about becoming a God-fearing nun for life, and so she threatens Mary. After a few moments had passed, Mary, who is now cooped up in the cathedral, finds out her other childhood pal, Travis, who has a ridiculously bad leg injury, which attracted the sisters' attention and led them to treat his injury. Upon knowing, Mary decides to visit him every day and quote unquote pray with him, which actually means she just tells him stories about the ocean. Dreaming of the beach together means true love for Mary and Travis. However, Travis is the brother of Harry, and Travis is also engaged to Mary's bestie, Cass. A few days later, Harry once again asks for Mary's hand, and this time there is no disturbing her, and so she says yes. Harry and Mary's engagement is somewhat as a means to escape the obnoxious sisterhood. However, Mary, who's now engaged, is actually in love with Travis, Harry's brother. After all the shocking events that had taken place, Mary then notices that a girl in a bright red vest enters the village from the forest and is now being held captive in a room in the cathedral. She then finds out that this girl's name is Gabrielle, and surprisingly, Mary is eager to learn more about her and where she is from. Later, Mary heads out to a hill where she and Travis runs into each other. They then proceed to have a nice makeout session. After the makeout session, Mary asks Travis to come for her and whisk her away from his brother Harry. But before he can answer, they catch a glimpse of Gabrielle, who is now a super zombie and super scary. Fast forward to the morning of Mary and Harry's wedding. Yes, Travis never came for Mary. Now, instead of waking up to the church bells, the village wakes up to the screaming of the sirens. It turns out that Super Zombie Gabby and the zombie horde are attacking the village. Harry and Mary, who's now alarmed, escapes by the skin of their teeth onto one of the fenced paths into the forest. They are then joined by Travis and Cass, Jed and Beth, a little boy named Jacob, and Mary's new dog, Argos. The gang then wanders down a path for a while before stumbling upon another village. Mary knows within her heart that the village they have now entered is in fact Gabrielle's village. Sadly though, it has also been overrun by zombies. While the rest of the gang, Harry, Jet, Beth, Cass, and Jacob, escapes into a treehouse, which is a part of the village, Mary, Argos, and Travis escapes into another path and ends up stuck in a big old house together, alone. At first, it feels like heaven on earth for Mary, but then Mary shockingly wants to escape and leave. Perhaps it is because of them being together alone and doing some things together is wrong for her, since she is engaged to Harry. Luckily for her, some zombies finally break down the house door, forcing her and Travis to get out of there. Thanks to Argos and his furry jaws of death, time has been bought for Mary and Travis to escape. Mary and Travis then makes a run for it through a horde of zombies that escape. Argos then follows behind them. The tireless threesome then reaches a cliff with a sheet rope, a barrel, and some serious climbing skills from Travis. who still almost gets chomped to death by the zombie horde. But fortunately for them, they manage to reach the end. Mary and Travis then have a heart to heart, and Mary realizes that she needs more than Travster, aka Travis, to be happy. She just can't quit thinking about her ocean. The others, who were left in the other part of the village, being Harry, Jed, Beth, and Cass, have now decided to head back to the forest paths once the weather cools down. You know that phrase about how the best laid plans are meant to be broken? Jacob accidentally starts a fire and burns down the remaining parts of the village. So, ultimately, they have to get out of the village since it's burning. Now, back to Mary, Travis, and Argos. Upon reaching the end, Mary then notices that Travis has been bitten and is about to turn into a zombie. Mary then decides to chop off Travis' head. But before she can, Travis then reveals to Mary that he got bit from the treehouse. So, he was a dead man either way. Now, after knowing this information, she still then proceeds to chop off his head. Moments had passed after Travis' death. Mary and Argos looks for the four, and eventually they find them. Now, the gang, Harry, Mary, Jed, Beth, and Argos, is back to wandering through the forest. And by this point, everyone's depressed and starving. They come to the end of the path that they took before they got separated. Mary leaves everyone in the dust and comes back into the forest to find the ocean. The zombies, unfortunately, finds her and attacks her with the intent of infecting her. Except Jed, who unexpectedly shows up to save her life. Yup, he decided to help her follow her dream. But unfortunately for him, he slips off the cliff and dies. Mary tries to find his body in a raging stream, but falls in and ends up gasping for air on the beach. Turns out the ocean is just at the end of the stream, where Mary was washing her clothes from earlier. Now, an unknown man comes along and discovers Mary, who looks like she's in the process of becoming a zombie. The unknown man almost cuts off her head, but before the unknown man does, she proves that she's alive and they end up walking hand in hand back to his lighthouse.
So, the reason as to why Mary was so obsessed to get into the ocean was because when she was a child, she was told multiple times about the ocean, where she thought that if she'd reached the ocean, there would be hope and freedom for mankind from the flesh-eating zombies surrounding their fenced-in village. In fact, the little girl named Gabrielle, who came outside of their fenced-in village, sort of hinted towards Mary that if she got to know more about this little girl, then it would lead her closer to the ocean outside of the village. So that is why in the novel we can see that Mary was super eager to learn more about Gabrielle. Now, Mary had a choice in the novel, whether it was to stay safe in their fenced-in village or to go outside of their village and pursue the ocean. And in the novel, we can see that Mary chose to go outside of the village and pursue the ocean. So that is why the module's name or title is called The Choice, because Mary in the novel had a choice. People in real life are in fact afraid of certain situations considered to be apocalyptic or catastrophic, and hence zombie mythology was made to create a safe fictional space for us viewers or readers to feel the same feeling that the main characters in the zombie story or movie are experiencing, in which we then have the time to analyze what we can do if we were in the same circumstances as those main characters.
Thank you for watching. If you want to see more of these types of videos, then please hit the subscribe button and notification bell for you to be updated for future posts. Also, don't forget to let us know what you think by commenting down below. Till next time.